In this problem, you have to identify the vertex and the axis of symmetry, and then you have to graph the parabola. So it's actually fairly easy because it's already given to you in the form that gives you the vertex. So when it's already factored like this, when you have f of x equals some constant times x plus or minus something squared, and then plus or minus something, you can just read your vertex right off of this. This is in the form of a x minus h squared plus k. And h and k give you the coordinates of your vertex. So our vertex is 2. Notice this was a minus 2 and our x-coordinate here is a positive 2. And the y-coordinate is negative 4, and that comes from that. So that is the negative 4. So our vertex is the point 2, negative 4. So I find the point 2, negative 4, and that's going to be our vertex. Our axis of symmetry is always the vertical line that goes through the x-coordinate of our vertex. So our axis of symmetry is x equals 2. That's always going to be true when you have the vertex. The axis of symmetry just goes through the x-coordinate there. Okay, so that's our axis of symmetry. Our leading coefficient here is negative. That tells us that our parabola is going to open downward. To get a few other points, let's just pick some and find what they would be. X, y. We already know that when x is 2, y is negative 4, because that's our vertex. When x is 2, when x is 0, just plug in 0 here. 0 minus 2 is negative 2 squared is 4. So that's 4. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Negative 12 minus 4 is negative 16. So at 0 we get negative 16. So it'd be all the way down here. Now if we did that right, we should get the exact same coordinate, the same distance over here to the right hand side. So when x is 4, I should also end up with negative 16. Let's see if I do. 4 minus 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Negative 12 minus 4 is negative 16. So yes, that's correct, and it also gives me some confidence that I did it right on the other one. And so here is our parabola. We got our vertex just from reading off the graph, and then we got our axis of symmetry by going through the x-coordinate here, and we found a few other points by plugging in. We knew it was going to open down because this was negative, and so that's this problem. Okay, let's take a look at this one. F of x equals x plus 2 squared minus 1. It's already in vertex form because we have it x plus or minus something squared minus something, so we can just read the vertex straight off of this. So our vertex is negative 2, negative 1. Notice the sign of the x-coordinate is the opposite of this. The sign of the y-coordinate is the same as this. Our axis of symmetry is going to be x equals negative 2. It's always x equals that. It's a vertical line. So we have our vertex at negative 2, negative 1. Here's our axis of symmetry is going to go through that point. If we look at our original, it's supposed to go through negative 2 there. That's supposed to be the vertex. If you look at our original equation, the coefficient here is just a positive 1. That tells us that our parabola is going to open up. To graph it, let's just put a few other points in here. We know that when x is negative 2, y is negative 1, because that's our vertex. Let me see what happens when x is 0. So when x is 0, if I plug 0 in here, 0 plus 2 squared, that's 0 plus 2 is 2, 2 squared is 4, 4 minus 1 is 3. So I went 2 to the right. If I go 2 to the left, I should get the same thing. So if I go over here to negative 4, and I plug negative 4 in here, negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is 4. 4 minus 1 is 3. Okay, so I know that at 0, I'm at 3. And I know at negative 4, I'm also at 3. And then, as predicted from this, our parabola opens up. Okay, and so there we go. So there's that one. Okay, here's one last one. Again, it's already in a form that makes it easy for us to see the vertex, and that's, you know, the virtue of this form is that it's set up so that you can see the vertex. If it's not already in this form, then you can't just read the vertex right off of it. You use minus b over 2a. So here, our vertex is going to be minus 5, 2, negative 5, positive 2, axis of symmetry, x equals negative 5. So we have our vertex at negative 5, positive 2. Our axis of symmetry is x equals negative 5. That's the vertical line going through negative 5. To graph it, let's do a few other points, x and y. We already know when x is negative 5, y is 2. And then we're going to pick some points on either side of negative 5 to figure out what they are. Let's see. Let's say that we are here, right on the right of negative 5, so we're at x equals negative 4. If I plug negative 4 in here, negative 4 plus 5 is 1. 1 squared is 1. 1 times 1/4 is 1/4. 1/4 plus 2 is 2 1/4. So at negative 4, I have 2 1/4, so just a little bit up there. Okay, now if I go 1 to this side, I should get the same thing. Let's check and see if I do. If I plug negative 6 in here, negative 6 plus 5 is negative 1. Negative 1 squared is 1. 1 times 1/4 is 1/4. 1/4 plus 2 is 2 1/4. So that also works. So right there. And so we get the parabola that looks like this. Notice it opens upward, which we would expect because this 1/4 is positive.